Hello fans, I'm the PC Expert Amateur and we're going to take a look at how to connect your fans to your motherboard. Now, every motherboard is different. Some only have 1 or 2 or 3 connectors. Others, like mine, have a few more than that for the fans. Some only can handle 3-pin fans. Others can handle 4-pin fans, and there are some that only handle 2-pin fans. But those are increasingly rare, except for like on older systems. In addition, I'll also show you how to connect to ARGB and RGB to the motherboard. Now, not all motherboards have ARGB, not all motherboards have RGB, but you're going to get to take a look at it so that you know what to look for when you're trying to find it. And I'm going to be taking the risk on because I'm going to keep my computer on while I'm doing this to show you the right way to do it so you don't mess things up. And I hope that this is going to help. Thanks to Shaheen again for making the request to see how to connect fans to a motherboard. I'm not going to be able to exactly duplicate what you're requesting, Shaheen, unfortunately, because my 5-pack of fans is packed away somewhere in a box that I haven't unpacked because I don't need those fans right now. I don't know which box it is either, and I'm just not going to discombobulate every single box just to find a 5-pack of fans that I can use. And it doesn't matter because I'm going to show you using MolXD with a 3-pin connector what you need to do to be able to connect that way. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, one of the things I did not discuss previously is that rarely these days you will find fans that instead of having that tab, okay, they don't, older ones like Black Noise don't necessarily have a 3-pin tab, or rather I should say maybe it would be easier to say that the tab covers up or conceals 3 of the 4 pins. Like with this one, if you look, you can see that the tab doesn't cover that last spot over there. That is where the PWM pin is. You can just see it there shining right now. So there are some older ones like Black Noise that have the fans, the tab coming almost all the way over with just a gap for one of the ridges over here. So it's concealing partially all 4 of the pins unless you look like this way. And yeah, so this is the female plug of a 4-pin tab. It's kind of hard to show you this. There we go. You can see that, unlike, say, this one, there is a space at the one side there. So if we compare these two, we can see the difference. They're both 4 pins. But the difference, especially with the white one, it's very easy to see. Yeah. So if you take a regular, or a more, I guess you could say, modern one that has the 3-pin tab, or the tab covering 3 pins, and you want to connect it, then it's going to be, if you connect it to, say, a 4-pin tab header. Now this used to be a 4-pin tab header, and you can see that I cut it. Didn't do a perfect job, but it's enough. But if that tab were still intact, I would not be able to plug these in together like that. That would not fit. It would get stuck like this, and you'd just be fighting it. And you'd either end up breaking the tab off or damaging the pins or whatever. It would not be a good idea. If you take this 4, and imagine again that this is a 4-pin tab, and you want to plug it into this kind of a socket where there's that one pin exposed, it's not going to have a problem. It's going to be perfectly fine plugging it in. It fits just fine. So that is something that you're not likely to encounter unless you get some of the older Black Noise and certain other brands that have that different system. But I wanted to point that out just in case for people who maybe have some oddball fans. So now I want to demonstrate to you how to get the fans that are using MolXD plus a 3-pin connector connected to the motherboard. So let's go ahead and get that ready. Okay, so I've got 3 fans, and I'm also going to show you how to do this with another kind that has the regular connectors instead of the older Molex connectors. But I'm going to take these 3 fans and I'm going to connect them all. And you notice these 2 have both 3-pin and the 2-wire MolXD, and it's a double header MolXD, so it's male and female, whereas this one is only MolXD, and you've got one that is female and the other one that is male. So it's a little bit, pins inside of a socket for male and holes inside of a plug for female. It's it's a little bit confusing, but that's the way it works. And it doesn't matter which one it is. All that matters is you can connect these all together. In fact, you could have a chain of 20 fans as long as they're not drawing too many amps or milliamps together. Now, in actuality, this may be advantageous or disadvantageous depending on the space in your case. So you may need this kind of a connection, or you may need to add this kind of a thing, a splitter. You can buy those as well, to be able to have, instead of one long chain of MolXDs connected together, you might be able to split them up into 2 in case there are some space constraints. But it's really very easy to do. Like I showed last time, you're going to take your MolXDs and line up the Ds on them and plug them in together, and that was easy. And then you take this one and you connect it. So now you've got 3 connected together, and you can keep on going. Okay, but again, with this one off by itself, it allows you to have that flexibility. And so now we're going to go ahead and connect this 3-pin connector to the motherboard. Okay, for starters, if we look right up here, don't do what I just did. Right there is RGB. It's got 4 pins, and this is ARGB. It's got 3 pins. Now let me bring you a little bit closer so potentially you can see the number of pins on each of those headers. Unfortunately, they're not different colors, but you count. And you will have to either look at the motherboard if you've got good eyes and find the pin that has G or GND. That is ground, and it will be on one end. It will never be one of the middle ones. And then this one is always easy because there's always that missing pin. You can't plug it in the wrong way without breaking the pins. And then the header is useless. Now mine does have other headers other than just that one there. I have 2 more ARGB headers down at the bottom. These are the CPU headers. I'm not going to unplug them. They're running the fans for my water cooler. And let me turn on my, there we go. That's much better. Okay, so now maybe you can see this better. Okay, 3 and 4. And the header's up there. And then if we find our way down here, and yes, that's a golfing pen from a mini golf place, we can kind of see the headers that are down here, but most of them
are in use also. So you have to look around and find all of your headers. You can possibly look in your manual, and the manual can give you the information, or you may have to just inspect visually. Those are the ARGB headers down there. And then these are two more headers. One of those is for the pump and the other one is for a fan. And I happen to have a splitter coming off of that, and just in case I needed to connect something. And there you can see that is actually a secondary. This one, therefore, would be a 4-pin. That's the primary one that controls, that sends and receives signals for PWM, and then that is duplicated to this one from this device. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, now I know you want to see it directly, so I'm going to temporarily unplug this thing here. Ooh, it didn't like that. Because that's, what is that? Well, it's not my pump. The one over here is my pump. But clearly that had a huge impact on cooling off the system. So we're going to do this rapidly.
Okay, so if you were paying attention to my daisy chaining video, or chaining video, whichever one you want to call it, you'll remember that I explained that when you're using a splitter, you have to find the socket that actually only has 3 pins in it. And you can't look at it from this perspective, you have to look at it from this perspective so you can see all the pins. Can you see which one has 3 pins and which one has 4? So the one with 4 pins is which is this one here. Hopefully you can see that. Kind of hard to show it to you. This is the primary, and this one is the secondary, and this one gets plugged into your motherboard or hub or whatever you've got. So you always want to make sure you have one plugged into this one, because if you plug one into this one and there's nothing plugged into this one, guess what happens? This one has no PWM control. So it has PWM control, it has no TAC signals being sent to the motherboard. So, really simple. Connect the one that is the primary one first. And people like to call it master and slave. I don't know. And this is one of those old ones where, again, like with the black noise, this is a panel mounts. And like with the black noise, it's got the ridges for the PWM connector on either end instead of covering 3 of the 4. So we're going to just connect this together. And then we're going to take our second fan and we're going to do the same thing. And you just keep on doing this over and over again with your with whatever kind of connector you've got, whether it's JST or SMJST or whatever, it doesn't really matter. The principle is the same. It's very simple. So now we're going to connect this to the motherboard.
Now the disadvantage of having connected these fans together with the MolXD so that I can use the 3-pin to power them is that the distance from the 3 pins to the MolXD is like 2 inches. But still, we can get this done. Hopefully I won't dump my phone. So I know where the tab is. This one has the tab down on this end. So the 4th pin, the PWM pin, is at the top there. So we're just going to take it like this. And be careful of your fingers if you have to hold the fans, because you don't want to get hurt by them and you don't want them breaking each other. Sometimes it's a little bit challenging. There we go. And as you can see, I will show you in just a second here. So we have 1, 2, and 3 fans all working at the same time, running through sharing through MolXD connected with the 3-pin connector to the motherboard. So there you have that. And again, it doesn't matter if it's 3 fans or 5 fans. It doesn't matter if it's Up Here brand or Leon Lee or something. If you're using MolXD, that's the process. If you're using regular PWM, it's the same process also. If you're using 3-pin, it's the same process. If you're using 2-pin, it's the same process. It doesn't actually make difference as long as you've got both the male and the females so that you can connect them together. You can do it. So don't be stressed out about it because it's not the way I did it. That doesn't matter. All it matters is you do it consistent. I mean, it doesn't even have to be consistent. I mean, like if you have 2 fans that have male and female PWM connectors, you could connect those together. And then if one of them has a MolXD, you could take and connect that to another one that has MolXD, and maybe there's a male and female 3-pin. You could connect those, and then you could connect all that to the motherboard. And again, assuming it doesn't go over the maximum amperage for your header, you can run the fans like that. Now, if your header is 1 amp and you run it at 1.5 amps, it's not going to get damaged immediately. It will take time, and it will depend also on how often you're actually going over that 1 amp ceiling. So if your fans are never revving up to maximum, and I'm not saying that you should gamble on this, okay? But if your fans are never getting up to maximum, they're never going to hit that 1 amp if they're just marginally close to that ceiling in terms of maximum draw as a collective. So you won't have that happen. Now, if, however, you have 3 fans that are, say, 0.6 amps each, or 4 fans that are 0.6 amps each, and you're running your computer overclocked and you're playing a very intensive game that's using the CPU and the GPU a lot, and your case isn't adequately ventilated with fans, you are gonna mess it up. Guaranteed. There's just no question about it. So, don't push your luck. That's all I guess I can say about that is don't push your luck. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to connect the RGB and the ARGB. Okay, so RGB fans are not very common anymore. In fact, they're really pretty rare these days. You can still get them. It's just that people want more control over their fans. So that most people are going for ARGB these days, which are the ones that has the one missing pin like this. The RGB ones are 4-pin. And remember, RGB uses 12 volts, whereas ARGB uses 5 volts. So you don't want to mix them up. If you buy a DC LED strip, those DC LED strips are generally going to be RGB, unless it states that it's ARGB. And again, that means that they're going to have 4 pins. So when you're looking at what can I connect this to, you have to keep in mind, is it 12 volt or 5 volt? Or is it 4-pin or 3-pin? Or is it ARGB or RGB? Any of those things will give you the answer you seek. And as long as you don't have a non-standard one like this 4-pin JST or SMJST connector, you should be good to go. So let's go ahead and start with the RGB, which is unarguably the most difficult for lighting to get connected. To start with, when you're looking at RGB header plugs, the female side, you're going to see 4 holes like that. Now, to find out where the ground is, you're going to look at this, and it should be on either one or both sides that you'll see that little arrow there. This one actually has it on both sides. Now, this is a professionally made cable, so that should always be on there. If you don't know, if you can't determine where the ground is, don't plug it in. You're liable to ruin the lighting entirely. But that is the easiest way to tell where the ground is so that you can match it up to the ground pin on your motherboard or on your hub. but do not plug it in backwards or you will fry the lighting. Now, I have an old Lamptron here, and this also is RGB, but this was semi-professional. As you can see, there is no arrow because this is soft plastic that was it's heat shrink. So it was shrunk onto there after they attached the wires to this female header, female plug with solder. So how do you tell which one is the ground? It's a little bit tricky, but generally speaking, if you have one like this, the wire should not be in a sleeve. It should be exposed over here. And so then you're going to want to look at the wires on the two sides. And one of them should have either a solid white line or a dashed line, or it could be gray like this one. If you look at the top one there, you can see some what looks like grayness on that. And if you flip it over, you don't see anything. So sometimes it's only on one side. This typically indicates that it's the ground. Now it's possible that they've miswired it, in which case there is a certain amount of risk that you're going to fry the lighting by plugging this in. The fan will still work. The fan will still work, just the LEDs, the controller for the LEDs that's inside of the fan will be shot. Electrocuted in effect. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in based on the theory, the theory that that top one there is actually the one that we need. And I happen to have it all set up over here, so I'm going to turn my camera. My apologies, I misspoke. The first one is the 12 volt wire. The second one is the ground. I always get those two mixed up. So if you look at this header here, you can, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well, but you can see the first one on the left there says 12V, the second one says G, and the third one says R, the fourth one says B. So you want to align that indicator on the plug with that. So with that in mind, that one wire that's got the white or gray on it is the 12 volt. Again, I'm sorry I misspoke. I don't use RGB hardly at all. Don't like the risk of plugging it in incorrectly. And we can see, there we go. It's a little bit, there we go. Now it's fully plugged in. And this is not being controlled by, in the same way that an ARGB can be controlled. And if you want to learn more about that, then look it up, because I'm not going to make a big old video about ARGB at this point, which is honestly, from people who have used ARGB a lot, it can be extremely frustrating, even if you're only using one brand. So, but this is called a dual ring, because it's got the LED ring exposed on both sides. So that's that one. Now what you could do is you could have an extension cable like this one, and you could have that plugged in there all the time, like I do on the rare occasion when I come across something that is RGB. And then, just to make it a little bit more confusing, I actually have a little extension on here. And this extension, just like this fan, this is a Lamptron extension, it doesn't have an indicator on it. But that doesn't matter in this case, because it's just this little extension, like 3 inches long or something like that, because I have this the extension cord plugged in correctly, and there is the arrow right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I want to make sure that I have the correct side up. Oh, I don't have the correct side up. So I want to turn that over and then plug it in. And as you can see, it works. Okay, and before we get to the last section, we're going to do ARGB. I have one ARGB fan here from Mikasa, and this one only has a single female connector. And then I have this one from PC Cooler, which has both male and female. So we're going to hook these up. And first I'm going to remove the cover from the pins of this one so that I can plug it in to this one. And this allows us to daisy chain. Sorry, kind of hard to do this. There we go. So now they are wired together, and as long as you don't pull, they'll be fine. And then we're going to connect it to my motherboard. And for those of you who have your OCD going into overtime because of the mess inside of my case, I don't care. You shouldn't care either, because I use this for testing and stuff all the time. I don't bother with making it look tidy. And I probably wouldn't anyways, because it doesn't matter, except for visually. So we're going to take this and we're going to line up. We see the hole. So the missing pin is that third one from the left, or the second one from the right, whichever way you want to count. We're just going to plug that in. And it is always kind of awkward. But I have succeeded. And again, with this, you can also use an extension. And turn this off. You can see that they are both connected. It doesn't matter that they are different brands and different models of fans. That makes absolutely no difference. Because unlike PWM, where you want to have like fans in terms of the speed range, with ARGB, it makes no difference. Now, if you are using some software like Open RGB, then it is important to try to match them up, because one of the things about ARGB that makes it a little complicated sometimes it's going to ask how many LEDs are on your fans. And if you don't know, or they're different, it may be problematic, just for your information. And here we go. I've unplugged this one because actually it just had an extension that I wasn't currently using. So I'll just plug it into there. And the tab is sitting right here on top. So I need to make sure that this is where the ridges are is facing upwards. I'm going to hold it like that. Make sure that the cables, and these are crappy cables, don't catch onto anything. And align it. And this is the reason I have an extension, because I don't like connecting directly. And as you can hear, my two panel mounts, which are very powerful, are now running. Do I need to show you? All right, at great risk to my own fingers, you can see that both fans are now running, connected to the motherboard, daisy chained together with a splitter. And if you, if the noise didn't tell you, those are high power fans. They will keep your computer nice and cool. So that is basically all there is for this video. I hope that this has helped you to understand how to plug fans in, and for PWM or 3-pin or 2-pin, even though I didn't show a 2-pin. 2-pin would be the same. So if you have a 4-pin header, you're going to look at where the tab is. So the tab would be, say, over like this. That means this one is the PWM signal. This is the TAC signal. This is the 5 volt in the ground over here. So you would want to take the 2-pin and you'd want to put it on the first 2 pins that are by the tab, not over here where there's no tab. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them down below in the comments of this video. Questions, comments, suggestions, I'm happy to have them as long as you're civil.
Thank you for watching this video. Also, thank you to Lawrence Abrams at bleepingcomputer.com for allowing me to use his forum to promote my videos, and thus I promote his website. which is a great website with lots of resources for tech people and for people who have computers, be it if you need help with hardware or software or even with malware. They have lots of resources. They have also got lots of news on their website about the tech world. If you would be interested in me presenting some of that news here on this channel, would you please let me know? I already have permission from Lawrence Abrams to do that. I'm just not sure if that would be something of interest to people, so I haven't done it yet. But yeah, so please like, subscribe, share. Let people know about my channel if you think it's worth it. If you don't think it's worth it and you want to give me feedback, please do so constructively in a video or in the community tab. If you can't be constructive and civil and logical about it, then you probably should just be quiet, because I have a low tolerance for people who like to troll. Which is to say, if you're going to be a jerk, I will not put up with it. So thank you very much again. I hope you have a wonderful day.